This is Donald Erhart giving the speech 2 informative speech for introduction to speech. The word Ebola brings out serious emotions for anybody, father, mother, child. It stops planes, stops anybody in their tracks. As of this time, there's no vaccine, but there is stuff we can do about it. So, before we jump right in, let's look at the first case. It was first discovered in Africa. Anybody know the area?
Oh, the Ebola River.
Good. I didn't even know that one. All right, so in 1976, the first case was patient 0, like any other disease. It all starts at one person. So Ebola, as Smith recounts, and Ebola daily diseases and epidemics. He recounts this, and at that river Ebola, the first patient, he went to the hospital. He thought he just had malaria, which was a big thing. Poor country in Zaire, which is now the Republic of Congo. And the Belgian nun, she didn't have any prior experience. She was just there sticking people with needles, no education, and thought it was malaria too. So she stuck him with the same vaccination needle for malaria, same needle she used for the next 20 people, who knows, and sent him home. About a month later, he dies, and according to the local traditions, his mother, the other females, and his family and female friends prepared his body, made sure there was no waste, no food in him prior to burial, and all this time they're just using their bare hands. They bury him. A few more weeks go by, and 21 people had this. 18 of them died. So already it's spreading like wildfire from there, and became an epidemic at that point. It's happened several times, not just then, but in later years it's came up again. So what can we do about this? Anything?
I'll go to Africa.
That's a good one too. That you might hear that later. All right. So everybody knows or accepts that it first came from animals. In the same book, Ebola by Smith, he goes back again in 1976, and following that, the scientists started studying the area where it spread up. They want to know where this came from, how it spread. And looking at the animals from 1985 to 2000, over the 15-year span, they found 18% of chimpanzees had that. It wasn't spreading out to people at that point, but it was all across the wild animals. 2001, Ebola hits again, right after the 18% of chimpanzees. So what we can do about animals as far as not getting Ebola from them? First off, not eating wild animals. If you find something dead on the ground, leave it be. That's probably not what you want to be eating. The CDC also says stay 1 meter away from dead bodies, animals, people. It's still contagious after they're dead. Just because it's dead doesn't mean you can't get it. The CDC also states you can get it from blood, any body fluid, spit, saliva, really just anything from the human body or an animal body. So going from animals to humans, next it goes humans to humans. And that's when it really spreads. What you can do about it as far as human to human contact. First, know the symptoms. If your friend looks like he's feeling off, it could be the flu. It's got a lot of similar symptoms. Headaches, fever, loss of appetite is a big one. Bleeding is a big thing with Ebola. It can be internal or external. If you're bleeding, it's not the flu, guy. You probably need to get checked out. You're not feeling well, isolate yourself a little bit, or don't start holding hands, rubbing up on your buddy. You don't want to get that either, just like any other sickness. Going on with that, vomiting is another symptom. We said loss of appetite, diarrhea, headaches. With the Ebola virus, if you're showing symptoms, it's contagious. That can start anywhere from 2 to 21 days after you get it. Now, the 21 days is going to lead right over to our next topic, high-risk areas. And anybody come back, like you said, from Africa, high-risk places, Anybody that travels a lot overseas, you're definitely a big target for it. Coming back, there's already 6+ states that have started doing a mandatory 21-day monitoring after you come back. That's for the 2 to 21 days of incubation. Just make sure you don't have symptoms and you don't spread it on. Also with high-risk areas, like we said, Africa. For travelers, a little bit of help comes from the CDC website. If you log on, they'll give areas that have found Ebola and what you can do to try to limit your exposure to it. Healthcare is our fourth point. All the sick people are going to a hospital. So that's where you're more likely to find it, as opposed to just on the street. Just with anything else, like hygiene is the main thing. Wash your hands. That goes for everybody. That's the biggest thing you can do to stay healthy. Hand sanitizer is going to kill 99.9% of all germs and bacteria. It's going to be your best friend. Along with healthcare, besides hygiene, clean sheets, bedding and clothing was another way you can get it from human or human to animal. Just because you don't touch the actual person or the animal doesn't mean you can't get it off something they've been on. Safe practices in hospitals as well, using PPE, again, like the needle that done stuck the next 20 people with. That's one place it could have stopped there. That's our 4 big points. We went over animal to human, human to animal, healthcare in high-risk areas. Having hit those 4 points, you can see there's a lot we can do to try to stop Ebola in its tracks. We can't eliminate all of it, but we can prevent most of it. Looking back at the original scenario in 1976, is there anything we could have done at that point, knowing what we know now, to have like slowed it down or limited it a little bit?
Yeah, that guy could have been quarantined.
Quarantine is a good one. Try to set that high-risk person or that patient that they didn't know what was going on with them, set them aside from everybody else.
Yeah, keep the body from the family, because when they went digging in his body to, pretty much bury him and whatnot.
Exactly. Good hygiene, burial practice, using bare hands probably isn't a good idea, especially if you already know this guy's sick and it looks really bad. The needle was a big thing. So although it's too late for Ebola, as you can see in 1976, moving on now, decades later, there's still a lot we can do to protect ourselves and our families. This concludes my speech.